Cool. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Fight on Friday. This week we have a full house. I'm back from holidays. I'm feeling annoyingly energized. We've got Kate and Costas as always, so full house team. We should be able to give Jack some good feedback this week. Nice to see you guys again. And this week we're joined, real privilege to have Cory with us. And we've got Jack from Salesloft. So let's kick on and I'll get you guys to introduce yourselves. Cory, can you kick us off, please? Tell us a bit about yourself, your company, and I think you've also got something else to announce.
Yeah, I'm Cory Bray, co-founder and managing director at Closed Loop. We're a sales management consulting firm that works with B2B sales teams. And we are about to launch our 6th book called The 5 Secrets of a Sales Coach. So if you are a sales manager who feels like you're struggling to get the most out of your team, or if you're an executive and you're worried that your managers might not be coaching, or if you're an AE and you want to be a sales manager someday and you don't know how to get there, 5 Secrets Sales Coach. Shoot me a personal message on LinkedIn. It hasn't officially launched yet. I'll make sure that you get the info on how to get a copy.
Love that, man. I'm looking forward to reading that, Cory. Thanks a lot for joining us, mate. Looking forward to seeing what you've got in store for Jack. Jack, man, congrats on the new promotion. For those who don't know, can you introduce yourself quickly?
Absolutely. So my name is Jack Neicho. I am a newly transitioned sales development representative into an account executive. This has been my first month in the role. I like to think I've got my fingers in lots of pies. I'm a big member of the and helped to build the SDRs of London community. I was an SDR for 2.5 years. Hit 2 presidents clubs at 2 different organizations. So hopefully can bring some credibility into the community that I love to share advice and knowledge with.
Cool, man. Thanks for joining us, Jack. It's going to be exciting. Man, what are the biggest areas of focus that we can help you with?
Now, would you think now in my current role?
In general, with
you guys, and I had a great analogy. When I transitioned from the sales development rep to the account executive, I felt like I went from being the kid that knew everyone, that knew everything about being an SDR. I was like the big boy in year 6. And then I went into year 7 in secondary school. I didn't really know much. I had to ask loads of questions for everything. I didn't really know where everything was. And the one thing I really struggled with in my first and second weeks was structuring my day. Now I had a great structure when I was an SDR of I called them focus blocks where I do specific things at specific times, cadencing at this time, searching for new leads at this time. But then I got to being an AE and I was like, right, what do I do now? I suppose most of the month has been just building pipe anyway, but I think really help on structuring my day or how you guys would help your team would definitely be a good place to start.
Great, awesome. Okay, and I think one of the things I've seen at the moment is Salesloft is certainly after my business. How would you feel about trying to sell me something, or at least trying to do a discovery as you normally would do, and give some feedback on that too?
Absolutely, yeah. Let's do that based on me trying to prospect into Reach Desk.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh wow.
Okay, all right, cool. So look, I'd like to hand over to Cory, Costas, and Kate to ask some questions first about to understand how you structure things, right? Cory, can you kick us off?
Yeah, so usually when we talk to people about structuring their days, you start with the end in mind. So in terms of understanding what your end goal is, do you have absolute clarity around what that is?
No, I think at the moment, I try and start my week at sort of 8:30 on a Monday by writing down SMART goals of things that I want to achieve by the end of the week, but not on a day-to-day basis, no.
What about on a more longer term basis, like a quarterly basis? You've obviously got a revenue target you're trying to hit, right?
Yeah, so not this quarter because it's my first month, but next quarter.
First month, so you don't have a specific goal.
No.
So one of my favorite quotes is from Yogi Berra. He used to play baseball for the Yankees back in the 50s. He always said that if you don't know where you're going, you might end up someplace else. So people that don't have real hard clarity around where they're going don't have the ability to work backwards. So a lot of times the best salespeople we work with, they know, okay, here's how much revenue I need to hit. Here's my average deal size. So this is how many deals I need to close. Well, to close that many deals, I know that I need to send out this many proposals. I need to do this many demos. And that means I need to do this many discovery calls. So I've got to get this many prospects to agree to take a discovery meeting with me. And you've got simple math, but it starts from working backwards. So my question is, do you have clarity around any of those pieces that you might be able to piece together? Or is that a puzzle that you've kind of got to build from the ground up?
Puzzle that you've got to build from the ground up. And I think with being an account executive, what I found is you get pulled in so many different directions. And I think the issue at the moment is, from what a seasoned account executive probably takes them 30 minutes, it takes me 2 hours. And I'm constantly having to ask people questions. How do I do this? How do I do that? Is that the right thing to say in an email reply? Is this how you build a quote?
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. Do you have clarity around what all the different tasks are that you're going to have to do in an account executive role?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. I mean, Costas, Kate, jump in here. I can keep going all day.
Yeah, I guess it's easy with the noise and of needing to adopt lots of new things, and if you separate them into buckets of kind of skill set, mindset, structure, in a way of saying, exactly to Cory's point, what do I need to achieve? What are the structural aspects that are going to help me get there? The things that I need to do, that's your structure. Your skill set then is the things that the framework that sit around supporting that structure. So I need to know more about the product. I need to know more about how to raise a quotation. I need to know more about how to do X. I need to more. They're all the supporting elements of sort of skills that you need to build up over time that will become apparent if you're following your structure right. Mm-hmm. And then the mindset is clear that you have a very positive mindset, but the bit that's perhaps lacking there is needing to be able to place yourself and have a very strong sense of self-awareness of where your gaps are in that process. So it starts by being able to get that strong structure in place. And that starts exactly as Cory said, having a very, very clear vision of what that goal is. And it's not the goal for today. It's not the goal for this week. It's your goal that you want to achieve. And every single thing you do needs to be cross-checked against that. Does this activity help me get to that goal? Does this skill that I'm learning support me in getting to that goal? And that amount of discipline needs to go into avoiding all of the noise that's going on around you and taking on things that distract you from getting to that goal.
Mm. How much time do you think I should be spending on self-awareness and sort of call reviews?
God, that's a really good question. That's how long is this piece of string? That's all about where your gaps are, right? There is no one, oh, I think you should be spending X amount per moment of that.
Do you have a call review rubric?
Not at the moment, specifically for me, no. And I think what I'm thinking about at the moment is, how do I understand when deals close, what I did well, and when deals don't close, what I could have done better?
Do you do a post-mortem?
I only started getting inbound leads to Disco and do discovery calls and demos for the past 2 weeks. So, I mean, I've had like a few come through, but I've only done one call review on one of them, which was like, I thought detailed enough to go in. Yeah. Outside of my leader.
Who's the top performer in your team at the moment?
Misha, Jessel Kenyon.
How much time have you spent with Misha?
A lot. He is my mentor. He's like my one-to-one, but I also spend time with all of the reps as well. He's not just the sole influence I have. I try and distribute it across the entire team because I know that everyone has their strong points.
And are you doing role plays?
Yeah, doing role plays. I'm quite busy already, so it's, I suppose I get to do quite a lot with customers and clients almost every day, if not 2 calls a day now.
Great, man. I think my advice to you, particularly for the next sort of 6, maybe 9 months, is continue to do those role plays, continue to sidle up against the people that are winning, and just dial in on what's working for them, particularly now in a remote environment. Spend lunch hours with them, like just really structure and align. You'll have to do things your own way, right? But always, there's that saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So you always need to hang out with the smartest people, and I just continue to align with them.
Mm.
Can I finish one last point? I obviously everything that's been said is great. You have already a mentor, which is Misha. What I would do if I was you, I would look in the past 2 weeks, what your calendar looked like. I will look your calendar with Misha, and I will split all the tasks to the £10 task and the £10,000 task. So if you look with him, you do a post-mortem of the past 2 weeks, you just need to figure out which activities fall in the £10 that you can, do later or not do at all, and which activities that are on the £10,000 task, which if you do that, you're hitting target, or you're hitting, your monthly, your weekly, or quarterly target. You need that help from him, because he might be saying a lot of things to you. It's great to take all this advice, but you just lose track of what you need to be doing on a daily basis, on a weekly basis to hit that target. And you can't, you can't continue like that for 6 months. 2 weeks, what tasks did you spend most of your time, or what did you do on those 2 weeks? And let him tell you, based on his experience, which task is a £10 task, you shouldn't be doing that, which task is £10,000, and then obviously start focusing more on that. My last piece of advice is, if you have a mentor, I would urge you to book 2 hours with him every single week, whether you have or you don't have something to talk about. Just 2 hours every single week. It's a habit from him and from you to bring things to him, and him to ask things of you. Listen, what are you? What are you doing? You need someone to check on you, but you need someone who's done that role to guide you. You're looking for a guide right now, not just advice. So that would be my 2 pence.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. To that point, Jack, as you do your call reviews, it's just like if you don't know where you're going, you might end up someplace else. If you don't have a rubric that you're grading your calls against around how well you uncovered pain, how well you manage resistance, all the different things that you know, the categories of things, right? And then define, well, what does it mean to not do it? What does it mean to do it? And what does it mean to do it well? That way you're objectively able to look at how well you're doing on these calls, as opposed to just being like, oh yeah, I think that went pretty well for this reason. And you'll get emotionally attached to one point, but you might miss some key points that should be evaluated that you could, if you did what Costas said, and have a little more structure on that.
Well, structure to start with, to be successful in sales, you need structure.
Yeah.
Start with that structure from someone who's been there, has done it, to give you that structure. Then that's it. You'll roll.
And I think as well, what's worth saying is, and I really didn't think this was going to happen to me, because I always thought I'd make time for it. But the first thing that I've found that goes, and I'm sure as sales leaders, you sit with your account executive and you say, like, you guys aren't doing enough outbound. How many times have you probably said that to your AE team? But it is just horribly I don't know why, it's just the first thing that goes. So I found that has been the first thing that slipped for me over the past month. And it's now trying to put that time back right. I've just got to block out time in my calendar to go and do, like, make my video prospecting, make my calls, do my emails. But I think you can be a lot more strategic and really cherry pick the accounts you go after, which is a bit funner, because I think with an SDI, you sort of need to branch your net out as vast as you possibly can do while keeping that personalized approach.
Yeah, and I think that's really good awareness, Jack. The thing I always say is, don't just do outbound for the sake of doing outbound. You have to have a goal in mind, right? A lot of AEs just go, oh, I've done all my calls. Why is nothing coming to fruition? I did them. I've got so much other stuff to do. You've got to be really disciplined. My goal for this month is to have 4 new ops created by myself and hold yourself accountable to it. Cool. All right. I'd like to move things on a little bit, Jack. I hope that was helpful.
Yep.
How about we do a little role play?
Of course.
Right? So I've submitted an inbound to Salesloft. Just a quick note saying I'm evaluating Salesloft. We currently use HubSpot sequences. What do you need to know from me in advance before we kick on?
Nothing. Let's do it at that. Nothing.
That's it? All right.
Cool. I know you've come inbound, you use HubSpot, and you're the sales director.
Cool beans.
Cool. So we get taught at a principle called Axe Not a Salesloft. So we'd always start off the call. Alex, really appreciate the time you've given me today. Naturally, you're probably going to have some questions for me since you came inbound. And obviously, I've got some questions for you. Just want to make sure that this 15-minute slot still works for your calendar.
Yeah, that's fine, Jack. I've actually only got 10 minutes, so if we can do it within 10, that'd be great, man.
Fantastic. That's easily enough time. So, Alex, I always like starting with the first question. Please, can you just tell me a bit more about how your team is structured?
Yeah, sure. So I've got 2 different territories at the moment. We've got a team in London and a team in New York. So we've got James, Sue and Patrick, who runs the sales team over in London. And then we've got Travis Drobbin, who's head of sales over in New York. And underneath them, they've each got 5 AEs, and below that, there's 8 BDRs.
Okay. And do you manage the entire team?
Yes, yeah.
What is the main focus for you at the moment?
So, I mean, our business is built on opportunities, right? So we need to be doing outbound more effectively. I feel like since the pandemic's hit, we've really learned how to go outbound and do it in a really highly personalized way. But what we're not getting is the insight as to what's working and where to really tweak things. We're using HubSpot at the moment, and it's like, it's fine for dialing and sending emails and everything, but it's really bad at actually giving us the intelligence we need to know what's working, what's not, how we can optimize things.
How are you currently measuring what's working versus what's not?
That's a good question. I mean, it's very limited. We usually say the number of accounts and prospects touched versus, and then the flip rate into a discovery demo and then onto a qualified op.
What impact is that having on your reporting capabilities?
It's just really limited at the moment. Honestly, the tool we use doesn't give us much insight at all, really. We can see the basics like open rates and response rates, number of contacts and sequence and everything, but it basically means I don't know where to invest more time and energy, and therefore we might be missing out on opportunities.
Okay, fantastic. I wanted to jump back into a part where you said outbound is going really effectively because you're doing a really personalized approach. Why do you think that is?
Because we've kind of removed the level of automation that we use with our outbound approach. But the problem is, I suppose, that makes sense to do it against like senior decision makers, but we can't really take that approach with more junior influencers within the buying committee. So yeah, it's going well because we're really personalized, but we're going to get to a point pretty soon, if not already, where we can't scale it any further.
And what insights would you be looking for with that outbound effort that you're not currently getting?
Love to know on average how many steps it takes to break through to a prospect, the kind of personas that are really responsive to our communications, which channels are most effective, and so those are the big three for me at the moment.
Which channels are most effective, average steps, and what was the last one?
Which personas are really responsive to our outreach.
Okay, and why do you think those are the most crucial three?
Because we are very persona-led with our messaging, right? We want to be able to optimize the number of steps it takes to break through to someone, because I know that will have a knock-on impact for our CAC, because if we can put another 25% more people in by being able to reduce the number of time it takes to break through to someone, then we'll be able to generate more ops.
What do you think's stopping you from getting to that 25% of adding more contacts in?
Just not having the visibility on where we can pinpoint what to fix, really.
Okay, fantastic. So do you think, well, not fantastic, but thank you for the insight. So do you think that, just to recap, you've got a great outbound effort, it's really personalized, but you as the leader, when you're covering these 8 AEs and 5 AEs and 8 BDRs, you just have no visibility on what's working and what's not. But you've got this goal in mind to try and get 25% more people or cover more territory. Is that the business goal, to cover more territory?
It's not the business goal. I mean, look, the business goal is always tied to revenue. We have to hit a certain revenue number by the end of the year, and because we are very heavily reliant on the opportunities that come into the pipeline, the business goal will be impacted if we don't get our numbers up. So if we can close the gap in terms of opportunities generated, which the deficit is about 20%, I think that will close the gap in the revenue number and we'll be able to hit our target.
What's the impact on you if you don't hit your revenue number by the end of the year?
New investors not happy.
That seems like a pretty big challenge that my account executive should be able to pinpoint in the next call.
Cool, man. Yeah, I mean, Jack, do you need anything else from me?
No, I think I've got everything I need to. I think I probably, in another case, could delve in a bit deeper, but in the case of time, I feel like that was enough.
Good, man. Look, awesome job, man. I'd love to throw it over to Cory first to kind of get a bit of feedback on that.
Oh, I missed out. Do you know what? I should have it was an instant bad move. After the checking that time, I should have said why have you come inbound? What are you interested in?
One of the main notes I've made here is
as soon as it happened, I was like, it's flowing now, but I would have said that at the beginning.
What You can always go back to it, right?
Suppose so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest mindset challenges that salespeople have is they feel like if they've got something that's part of their sales methodology that they skip, they feel like they can't go back to it. Well, guess what? Your prospect doesn't know your sales methodology. And if they do know it, they respect you even more because they know that you're following it and everybody makes mistakes and they go back to it. So, all right. So Alex, you want me to give us some feedback? I think that there's different types of prospects, right? There's people like Alex was on this call who are just totally fine with you just asking them question after question after question after question. They're just going to keep giving you the answers, right? Well, those aren't the places where the best salespeople actually shine. The best salespeople are the ones who can work with somebody like that, absolutely, but can also work with that middle manager that doesn't want to give you access to any information because they're holding the keys, or that senior executive that's got 3 minutes and is like, what do you got? And I think the challenge is when we're dealing with some of these from the get-go, I don't, can I just be direct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't love how the meeting was teed up. And I think that in a lot of cases, you're going to get completely derailed because of that. So with your opening, what'd you say the acronym was?
AXNOT.
AXNOT. So I've heard people do that before. It's a thing. I think it's a Sandler derivative. What happens is you're telling him what's going to happen. You're like, hey, Alex, here's what's going to happen today. And giving him multiple sentences without him responding or opting in. He didn't tell you why he was there. So there's two things I want to focus on. Let me just give you one quick example. Alex, role play with me real quick. I'll show you a different example of how this could happen. And then I want to hit on one point and then I'll hand it off to other folks. Alex, thanks for jumping on the call today.
Yeah, no worries, Cory. Not a problem.
Do you want to go ahead and get started?
Sure.
We booked this for 30 minutes. Does that still work?
Yeah, I'd ideally like to do it in 20 if that's okay.
20 works for me. And it's just us today?
Yeah, it's just you and me.
So Alex, what are some of the things that you're really trying to get out of the conversation today?
I mean, in an ideal world, Cory, I'd love just to see the Salesloft platform and just have a peek. I'd love to compare it against what we're doing today, but that's about it, really. Anything
specific?
That's a good question.
I'm digging in. I'm not letting him get away with that.
Yeah. It's a good question. I think I've never really taken a look at under the hood. We've got a system at the moment. I just kind of want to compare you guys against them, really.
Got it. Anything else?
I mean, it's always good to see what kind of pricing you guys have too. So I'd love to understand a little bit more about that.
Got it. So Alex, just so I can make the product and the pricing relevant to you, is it okay if I ask you some questions first?
Yeah, sure, of course.
All right. And Alex, no major decisions to make today. Typically coming out of this meeting, either you'll realize that what we've got isn't for you, and I'm happy to take a no, or we can schedule another 45 minutes, maybe with some other folks on your team, and show them the platform in the next week or so. Is that fair?
I think that's a really good shout, actually. Yeah, I'm happy to commit to that.
Okay. So Jack, do you see where that was a little different than the way that you kind of railroaded him through and said, here's what we're going to do?
Yeah.
Okay, so then my second point, which is critical, is after that. Your first question is the mistake that I see SMB and mid-market salespeople make consistently all the time is you just step back and you're like, hey, so Alex, tell me about your process today. And he can go in any direction. He can tell you anything that he wants. He can use as many words as he'd like, and he can start talking about stuff that doesn't matter to you or that might be in your losing zone where one of your competitors is going to trounce you. So that opening framework that I used is called the plan framework, by the way, from Triangle Selling, is you can take that agenda when I said, what do you want to cover today? And he said, I want to see a platform. Let's assume he said something specific. Like I want to see how you guys do email sequences, right? So before the meeting, I can know Alex, his persona, his market segment, where we win with people specifically like him, and have a really good pain-based discovery question teed up for him and be like, look, Alex, typically when a founders asking me about email sequences, it's because they're either just struggling to hit their lead goals, they're frustrated with how their team's sending emails, or they're concerned that what they're doing today might not be scalable. None of these are happening with you, are they? And he's either going to opt into one of those, or he's going to say, yeah, actually, that's not happening. What's happening is this other thing. So now I know what problem I'm trying to at least focus on doing some discovery around. Whereas if you start with that general, hey, what's your process? Tell me about how you guys do things today. You're working from behind, and you're going to have to do so much work to get back on track and try to figure out where there's actually pain points where your company should, as Costas talked about the Sales Playbooks, the Builder's Toolkit, you should have a very clear idea of what are pain points you solve for which personas in which market segments, what impact do each one of those pain points have if you guys can solve them, and then how well are you positioned to win against your competitor. And all you're trying to do is test a hypothesis. Does Alex have one of these or does he not? And it takes away all of this mental gymnastics and arm wrestling that you have to do if you start with that process question.
Yeah, I agree. I think in most discovery calls, I would come armed with the hypothesis based on information I probably gathered. I just went into it with like a generic thing. Or do you think I should have just done that on that example?
You know his role and his title.
Yeah.
You got to have something that you got to have bait on your hook. Otherwise, you ain't going to catch any fish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, that's what I think.
Thanks.
I love that, Cory. Jack, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, good. It probably didn't go as well as I'd liked. I just tried to keep it generic. I know I offended Cory with my first team structure question. I agree with you. I think it's just the classic one to leave.
Do whatever you want.
But yeah, I thought I was more just like trying to do that sort of classic spin sell. What I would want my inbound rep if I was going to do it to try and get information, some form of business challenge.
Jack, the fun thing about the methodologies that you're referencing is they were all invented before the internet existed, and there were no such things as inbound leads. So I use what you will, but recognize the frameworks and the application to today's world of I'm a buyer researching a bunch of different things on G2 Crowd and on Google and getting recommendations for Modern Sales Pros and all these other places. Like applying a framework that was built for something that didn't even recognize that the internet existed is going to take some tweaking. That's just something to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Love that, Cory. Costas, how about you, mate? Oh, and he's on mute. He's made the first rookie error of the modern 2020 seller.
I haven't done this for 2 weeks, so look. I mean, I wanted to make the same point that Cory made. Obviously not as eloquent as Cory. It was the whole agenda, the first couple of seconds of what's your objective, what's Alex's objective, how it's going to run, right? That for me is absolutely crucial because everyone puts it between 15 and 30 minutes aside to talk to a salesperson, but no one wants to spend 15 or 30 minutes, right? They want to. So your job will be potentially to start within the first 5 minutes to know where you're going to drive the conversation, because you realize that this person has the same problem that many of your other prospects, clients have, and you know exactly how to actually work. So that was, Cory made a great point there. So I don't want to dwell on that. The one thing that I would like to, I mean, you've got a great delivery, man. You're very confident. It's great delivery. And I think that your process, there's nothing wrong with your process. You're asking too many situational questions all the way from the beginning, like what Cory said. Yeah, team structure, managers, where they're based, and everything like that was the focus. It took you 4 questions to ask an impact question based on what Alex was saying. It's nothing wrong with that, but I do believe that if you had that agenda set up, you probably would need less questions. The one thing I would like, and I always tell people that it's fine that you solve a problem, and it's fine that I recognize that I have potentially a problem. My question is the timing right for me? Am I invested in making a buying decision to have it solved? Because I always, as a sales director, I always need to hire people. So people can come to me with any solution. Do I need to invest time in doing this now? The answer is probably no. So this is probably one thing that when you put the phone down after you've done your discovery, I think that every single person should ask the question, great, are you invested in doing something by now? What was the time frame? Not everyone's going to buy today. Some people will buy later. Okay, different approach. And this is something that I would have expected you to have asked because you said there were some, what insights you need to know. Then you ask, what would the impact if you didn't know this or whatever. And then ask me, is this something you're looking to invest in? Like getting better sequences or whatever. Getting out of transport and figure out if it's worth continuing that conversation with another meeting. But, hands down, the delivery was great.
Thanks.
Yeah, Jack, you've always had awesome delivery, man. I've been on other webinars with you in the past, and I think that's a real strong suit. I think the thing that you will start to realize as an AE is that compelling event that I think Costas is talking to there. There's this awful moment where you have to sit down with Olley Sharp and deliver your forecast. Right? and the feeling of hopium that I hope this deal closes is going to set in, and you'll discover this over the next 6 months. All AEs do this at the beginning. No, Alex he was so engaged on the call, and like, he's got to fix this thing with HubSpot. And the key question you can ask is, why are we talking now? It's just such a simple question. I don't feel people ask enough. They try and go into the impact and the need payoff, particularly with spin selling too much. They don't ask the simple questions. Why are we talking now? Just be straight with me. And I think I love Cory's point about how a lot of these processes were set up before the internet existed. I think from being a prospect, I think you should almost put your personality and your natural flair into your discovery and just talk how you talk, right? And don't go into the what's the impact too much. Just talk like a normal human being, and I think you'll come across a bit easier. But also you'll get the information you need to say, I can forecast this for 2 months' time because he has a compelling event that needs to be fixed. It might be a renewal, whatever it is, but I'd certainly dial into that.
Yeah, I think I'm still finding my way and my flow and my authenticity and maybe what questions I like to ask. And I didn't come into that with like the clear hypothesis, and I'm definitely going to take the points that Cory gave and Costas gave into. I was writing notes, as you can tell, beforehand or during, to make sure I get those in now.
Can I give one example? I was speaking to someone from a big bank probably a couple of months ago, and I was asking them, how long does it take, for example, for this system to be implemented? So from the moment you speak to a salesperson until implementation, right? And she said it takes about 2 years. 2 years. So if I was to ask that person, is something you need to do today? No, the answer is no. But understanding what's the driver, compelling reason, and then work out how long it's going to take you, then you can make a case about, yeah, you need to start the conversation now. You need to demo now, because it will take you 18 months to actually get that rolled out. It's really important to understand the compelling reason why people speak to you right now, and depending on timelines, if they need to do something probably in the next 6 months, 6 months to 8 months, it's great, depending on what you want to implement. If someone is in that bracket, you can actually just start pushing a bit more your solution.
Yeah, and then make sure when you go to close that you're using that implementation date as the trigger date, not the date they sign the contract. And then that makes it more prospect centric, and it gives them some more motivation to move fast because it's in the context of what they care about, not what you care about. Because they don't care that your quarter's ending.
They never do, and they'll always ask for a discount if they know that that's the case.
I know.
I think we've got another 2 minutes before we close off for Kate. Kate, can I hand it over to you?
I've only got one slight part, which is just to break down that whole why now. And when you've got an inbound lead, you've got a beautiful situation that you can dig into the psyche and get somebody to sell you on why they've come to you. So it's not just the why now, it's what piqued your interest to come to us. Tell me about the feature, whatever it was that made you come to me. And that unveils quite a lot about that conversation and can take you somewhere quite interesting, because it naturally starts off a conversation. What piqued your interest to speak to me today? And then you can say, okay, so the why us, and now understand why us, then the why now question. So what's brought this to the fore? So I just, definitely the why now, 100% with Cory and Costas and Alex there, but with inbound, you've just got that lovely opportunity to say why us, what piqued your interest, what brought you to me today? And that's a really nice way to frame it. Yeah.
Cool beans.
So,
all right, guys.
yeah, I can't add anything else.
Yeah, love that, Kate. Guys, we're up for time, I'm afraid. I always like to ask one final thing. Is there any poor, unfortunate souls that you'd like to subject to 5 on Friday? I.e., do you want to nominate any SDR or AE out there in the world to come and be coached by us? Jack, have you got anyone in mind?
No, I'll let you guys nominate.
Cory, have you got anyone you'd like to see come on 5 on Friday?
Oh, I don't know. I don't want to throw anybody on their bus.
Alrighty, we will happily throw someone under the bus publicly on LinkedIn, and we'll make the nomination ourselves.
Has Ben done this yet?
No.
Get him on then. Benson.
There we go. I might have to sit that one out. But okay, Ben Smith, consider yourself nominated. Jack, thanks for joining us, man. Thanks for throwing yourself out in the open. Good luck in the next path in your career, mate. You're in a great business, and I'm sure you're getting some awesome coaching. So good luck closing those deals, and have a great end to the month, quarter even, both. Cory, been a real pleasure, man. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you.
I hope the new book launch goes successful, and looking forward to reading it.
Good.
All right, everyone. Thanks a lot.